The WWF and the UFC have had a very on and off again relationship. At this current point in time, the WWE doesn't really acknowledge the UFC. But did you know back in 1997, they even promoted the UFC pay-per-views? What a wild time that was. The WWF Attitude Era was different. Speaking of promoting many different things, the WWF even did a cross-promotion with ECW and even let them take over Monday Night Raw, and that show, well, that even featured ECW matches. On February 24th, 1997, during this ECW invasion angle on Monday Night Raw, Ken Shamrock was shown sitting in the crowd as a fan of the WWF. They touted him as the world's most dangerous man, and even had Jerry the King Lawler come up to him and interview him. Lawler had claimed that him and Ken Shamrock, well, they go way back. It was even Lawler that taught him how to fight in the UFC. On this very day, Ken Shamrock had signed a 3-year deal with the World Wrestling Federation. Now, when you think of Ken Shamrock, the first thing you probably remember was him being the referee for the Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart I Quit submission match at WrestleMania 13. In promotion of this match, Ken Shamrock was on commentary during a match between Billy Gunn and enhancement talent Aaron Ferguson. Billy would be the clear victor in this match using many submissions, and after the match, Billy challenged Ken Shamrock to get in the ring. Shamrock accepted. He got in the ring and Shamrock took a waist lock on Billy Gunn and then transitioned him down into the ankle lock. Eventually, Shamrock let go of the ankle and Billy Gunn left embarrassed. Stone Cold would come on the Titantron and trash talk Ken Shamrock. Austin told Shamrock that he better call the match right down the middle at WrestleMania or he's going to open a can of whoop ass on him. Ken Shamrock would ref the WrestleMania 13 match between Austin and Hart, and he would indeed call it right down the middle. Following WrestleMania, Ken Shamrock would have his first in-ring match. On April 7, 1997, on Monday Night Raw, Ken Shamrock would defeat Vernon White, an MMA student from Ken Shamrock's Lion's Den school. This was a no-holds-barred exhibition match. It was more similar to the UFC style. Shamrock would pick up the victory after delivering vicious punches to White as he lay on the ground, causing him to tap out. Shamrock's first major program would be versus Vader, as they would have a no-holds-barred match at In Your House 15. In the match, similar to the other one, the only way to win the match was via submission or knockout. During the match, Ken Shamrock accidentally broke Vader's nose with a series of knee strikes, and in the end, Ken Shamrock forced Vader to submit with the ankle lock submission. They would have another match later in the year in what would be one of the weirdest cross-promotion matches ever in FMW. In September, they would have a no-rope cage match shoot fight at FMW's Kawasaki Legend 1997 Super Show. The match ended in a TKO with Vader being the victor, and Ken Shamrock would suffer internal bleeding from a lung infection and a rib injury. This was a worked wrestling match, however, Vader and Shamrock worked as stiff as possible to make it seem like a legit fight. Before this in the WWF, he would take part in the Canadian Stampede, where on July 6, 1997, he teamed up with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Goldust, and the Legion of Doom, and losing against the Hart Foundation. Owen Hart would pick up the victory by pinning Stone Cold Steve Austin. Ken Shamrock would continue feuding with the Hart Foundation and found himself getting a European Championship match versus the British Bulldog at SummerSlam 1997. Ken Shamrock would end up getting DQ'd after hitting the British Bulldog with a can of dog food. This was payback for an early incident on Monday Night Raw. Bulldog and Shamrock had an arm wrestling contest that ended after Bulldog headbutted Ken Shamrock while they were arm wrestling. Bulldog then poured a can of dog food all over Ken Shamrock. Following this, Ken Shamrock would even get a WWF Championship match versus Bret Hart on Monday Night Raw. At this time, you could see the WWF was high on Ken Shamrock, letting him have championship matches. He would again challenge for the WWF Championship in the main event of D-Generation X In Your House, and it was against the then champion Shawn Michaels. Out of his entire career, this is probably one of his biggest matches in the WWF. This match would begin and Shawn Michaels used his speed to avoid Ken Shamrock until a kick to the chest sent Shawn Michaels to the outside. Michaels would constantly go to the outside during the match to console with his buddies, D-Generation X. Later in the match, Ken Shamrock would lock in the finisher, the belly-to-belly suplex, but HBK would grab the ref and deliver a mule kick below the belt. Triple H would deliver some punches as the ref was distracted. Michaels then jumped off the turnbuckle onto Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock's shoulder was driven straight into the ribs of Shawn Michaels. HBK would get the upper hand as DX would throw Shamrock into the post, and Chyna would body slam him on the outside when Shawn Michaels distracted the referee. Shawn would be in total control until Shamrock would make a comeback late in the match. Shawn Michaels would go for the sweet chin music, but Shamrock would duck and deliver the belly-to-belly suplex. He was about to beat Shawn Michaels with the ankle lock when DX came to the ring and beat down Shamrock. Shamrock would win the match via DQ, but HBK would retain the title. After the match, Owen Hart would run down to the ring and attack Shawn Michaels and put him through the announce table and run off. This was a really great showing for Ken Shamrock. The power versus speed match worked really well in the favor of Shamrock, as Shawn Michaels really worked his ass off to make him look great. In the end though, it would be one of the only few times he would have a match for the WWF Championship. In early 1998, Ken Shamrock would then go after the Intercontinental title. Shamrock would verse The Rock 2 times, once at the Royal Rumble 1998 and once at WrestleMania 14. He would lose both of those matches via disqualification. Although I only briefly talked about the matches with The Rock, it is something you should go back and look at, as these matches were some of the best that Ken Shamrock had in the WWF. In the summer, Ken Shamrock would win the coveted King of the Ring tournament after defeating The Rock via the ankle lock in the finals. The next month at In Your House Fully Loaded, he would compete against Owen Hart in a Hart Family Dungeon match. The two would square off in the famous Hart Family House Dungeon, where Stu Hart would train wrestlers. Dan Severn would be the special guest referee for the fight. Shamrock and Hart battled each other and tried to make each other submit. Shamrock took to perform a kick on Hart, but Hart avoided it, and Severn was accidentally hit with it. Hart took advantage and knocked out Shamrock by hitting him with a dumbbell. Hart then applied an armbar to Shamrock, and as Severn recovered, he saw Shamrock in the hold and awarded the victory to Hart. Following this, they would have the famous Lion's Den match at SummerSlam. If you've never seen the Lion's Den match, well, it took place in a separate theater within Madison Square Garden in front of a special crowd, and it was in its own ring. This ring was different than anything you've seen before. Think of a circular polygon cage similar to a UFC one, with steel wires and no ropes, and it was approximately 10 feet high. During the end of the match, Owen Hart caught Shamrock and slammed him into the mat and used the advantage to lock in the sharpshooter. Shamrock slowly crawled to the cage and used his fingers to climb up, building pressure on his own legs, but making it awkward for Hart to sustain the hold. Despite breaking out of the hold, Owen Hart managed to catch Shamrock, bending him backwards with his arms wrapped around Shamrock's neck. Shamrock would break free by flipping over Owen Hart, and he was able to trip him down with the toe hold and allowed him to put in the ankle lock. Dan Severn would walk away in disgust, and Owen Hart would tap out. This was really a unique match, and it had its own special feel by putting the match in its own special theater. In October, the WWF would hold the Intercontinental Championship tournament with 8 people. The previous champion, Triple H, vacated the title due to an injury. Shamrock would go on to win his one and only Intercontinental Championship by defeating X-Pac. In November, Shamrock joins Mr. McMahon's corporation after Mr. McMahon offered him a family in exchange for his services. Shamrock and fellow corporate member The Big Boss Man defeated the New Age Outlaws for the WWF Tag Team Championship, making Ken Shamrock a dual champion. The duo held the titles until January 25th of 1999 when they lost to Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. Around this time, Ken Shamrock Well, we'd be introduced to his kayfabe sister Ryan. Ryan Shamrock was said to have been involved in an adult movie with Val Venus called Saving Ryan's Privates. And at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, Ken Shamrock would lose the Intercontinental title to Val Venus. Shamrock took part in a fatal four-way bout for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 15. The reigning champion Road Dogg was able to retain his title by pinning Goldust after Shamrock and Val Venus were counted out while brawling on the outside. In early mid-1999, the corporation began feuding with The Undertaker and the Ministry of Darkness, with The Undertaker's minions repeatedly ambushing Shamrock and kidnapping Ryan Shamrock. At one point, they even sacrificed her on The Undertaker's symbol. The sacrifice of Ryan is just one of those things you have to see. After breaking away from the corporation, Shamrock went on to feud with The Undertaker at Backlash. He ended up losing the match, but this is great to see. It puts Shamrock in a main event spotlight once again. Shamrock held his own in the match, but Taker was able to get the win with the Tombstone Piledriver. After losing to The Undertaker, Shamrock, Big Show, Mankind, and Test formed the Union. There's a stable of wrestlers in opposition of the corporate ministry, a faction that had just formed. The Union dissolved soon after defeating corporate ministry at Over the Edge in May. And Shamrock briefly feuded with Jeff Jarrett before beginning a rivalry with the Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. Blackman and him fought in a series of unorthodox matches and even feuded at SummerSlam, where Ken Shamrock defeated Blackman in a Lion's Den's weapons match. At the end of his run, he feuded with then debuting Chris Jericho until he departed the WWF in late '99 in order to resume his mixed martial arts career. Ken Shamrock was an amazing talent and really became a standout star and should have been world champion. After Ken Shamrock won the King of the Ring, Ken Shamrock thought that he was going to have a chance for the WWF Championship, but that never happened. Shamrock had many high-profile matches with guys like Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Kane, and The Undertaker, but for some reason, they never decided to put the World Championship on him. In recent interviews, Ken Shamrock said that they instead wanted him to do a love angle with his kayfabe sister, Ryan Shamrock. Ken Shamrock refused to do this, stating the WWF was trying to kill his character. Ken Shamrock could be one of those guys that the WWF tried to bury before he left the company. Ultimately, Shamrock decided that WWF didn't want to put the World Championship on him, that the glass ceiling would never be broken. He went back to the world of mixed martial arts, and then he went to TNA Wrestling. To this day, WWE has not brought back Ken Shamrock to do anything. When taking one final look back at Ken Shamrock, you can really see that he was a true talent in the world of professional wrestling, and he really built a character that people could believe in. The most dangerous man to this day will be one of my favorite wrestlers during this entire era, and when I think of his Intercontinental run, I have fond memories of it. I will always say, to this day, that he should have been WWF World Champion.